Let's fight. Let's fight. Let's fight. Let's fight. Welcome in the ring, folks. And we are happy to see each and every one of you. A very good evening or a good morning, a very good morning, depending on which part of the world you're joining us from. So privileged to have each and every one of you with us. And again, depending on which part of the world you're joining us from and what time, what time zone you might be in. But guys, we are ready to go. We are fired up and we are ready to go. I am just making sure I have all my notes at my fingertips. Ready to go, guys, and share the live stream as we come on. You know the routine. I ain't even gonna tell you all nothing by now. By now, you all know the routine by heart. Share the live stream. Share the live stream. Privileged to have each and every one of you with us this evening. We're going to have some guests dropping by to give us a different perspective on different issues. Good to see each and every one of you guys. We hope you guys have had a good day. Those of you who are joining us on Twitter, those of you who are joining us on YouTube, those of you who are joining us on Facebook, we are happy to have each and every one of you. And let me be the first to say, guys, I am so heartened. I am so personally heartened by all the shares we've been getting. By all the shares we've been getting, you guys have been telling your family and your friends about coming and join in the ring, come ringside for the credible and valid news. And we appreciate that. We are humbled by that. And it just means for us that we have to up our game or keep on top of our game as well at this end to make sure that every evening that we come on, we continue to earn your trust. We continue to earn your trust. We are heartened by all the support that we've been getting from you guys. As we have said, you guys make the program what it is. It's not about us. You guys make the program what it is. And people like Carol Jacobs and Roxanne Jacobs, Dolet Asana and Beverly and Sandra Facey, all of you guys, each and every one of you guys, we are so heartened. We are so heartened. Lambert, who is joining us from, oh my God, the name looks a little strange. I don't want to mispronounce it, but that foreign country that Lambert, who is joining us on YouTube, is joining us from. We are privileged. Is it Nunavut? Nunavut? I think that is the name, Lambert, but we're grateful to have you nonetheless. Forgive our shortcomings with our pronunciations. We're getting a little like prayer. Cheryl Ann Haywood, good to see you guys. And is it Zoanne Stewart and Roxanne Jacobs again, and Elaine Harry, all of you guys. Nadia Seafood, one of our favorites, guys. We are ready to go. I'm ready to go. I need to get through some information before we invite our guests to come on. And so I am ready to go. Diane Henry, good to see you guys. Brendan Nicholson and Randy Singh, good to see you guys. Diane Fordyce, one of our regulars. And I see Heaven. We always have Heaven here with us. Aislinn King, St. Romaine Adams, Imelda Haynes. Good to see each and every one of you guys. Do us that favor and share the live stream. Share the live stream. I want to see more than 300 shares when we come off this evening. I know we can do it, and I'm pushing you guys and encouraging you guys to share the live stream. Share it to a page, share it to a profile. You may want to send it to somebody. Just copy the link and send it to somebody via WhatsApp, because you can view the Facebook lives right on WhatsApp. You don't even need to come into Facebook. Once you have that link there, you can view it right on WhatsApp. We know people are lots and lots of persons join us via YouTube, and we are heartened by that. Somebody contacted me this morning. Well, not somebody, I know the person, but I want to tell you all the person name. You're too fast. He says his mother-in-law views In the Ring religiously, but she's getting some trouble viewing it on Facebook. She loves the program. And if you have a problem like that, because we know not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody like the ghetto. It's only we. Not everybody like the ghetto. And so, guys, we also stream simultaneously to YouTube. And so you can share that YouTube link with persons who may not have access to Facebook, because people don't like, the back and forth and the bacchanal of Facebook. And that is why we stream to Twitter, because we understand that Twitter has its own unique upper class audience. And then we say that YouTube is the suburbs, YouTube is the middle class, and so forth. congregate on YouTube. And then Facebook is inviting people. Facebook is get out, folks. But we love it. We love it. We'd rather live no other place than right here on Facebook with the rest of you guys. But we're trying to accommodate all the other persons. We're still getting some challenges getting through to Instagram, but we are going to stay on top of that. And as soon as we can do that, we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen, folks. So we are joining you across several platforms, people, internationally. Good to see all of you guys joining us from Region 11, Fit, Day Hartman and Yolanda Pieters, Okuro and Claire Alexis, Chamalady, Richmond. Y'all got plenty names, man. Plenty names. When y'all learn to call all these names and to spell all these names. Auntie Sandra Hanover joining us there from Diamond. Good to see you as well. And Kim King and Alexis Arthur and King Westmoreland, Melissa Barnwell, Tappin, Branford. Hey, you hear that? That's one person name in it. That's one person name. Sherilyn Ann Haywood. Good to see all of you guys. Grateful to have each and every one of you guys share the live stream. Share the live stream with your family, with your friends, even with your friend. I mean, guys, we're so grateful. Every now and again, somebody sends us a little raise because they realize that we got to pay for internet. We got to pay our editors. We got to pay our social media specialists who help us with our graphics and getting us through, our technicians, getting us through to all the different platforms, making sure that we come to you looking credible, folks. And once in a while, somebody sends us a little small piece, and we want to thank those people too. We want to thank those people. Y'all know in this country, we don't survive unless we get a little small piece every now and again, right? Y'all know that. Y'all know y'all getting your little small piece too. June Birch joining us from Canada. Good to see you. And William King joining us from the USA. The names are going by so fast, folks. Anna Nichols joining us as well. And Littell, is it Prek? Joining us on YouTube. Good to see you. And Abigail Passard joining us from the West Bank. I don't know if it's the Gaza Strip or West Bank, Guyana, but nonetheless, good to see you, Carlton, and all you other folks, Colleen Isaacs and Paulette Hicks. Good to see each and every one of you guys. Share the live stream. I want to challenge you guys this evening to give us about 300 shares. I know that you can do it. I know that together we can do it. I don't want to jinx it by any means, but I'm inviting you guys to share the live stream, and we are going to get on the go. For all of those persons who share the live stream, we are very, very thankful, folks. Very, very thankful. Very, very thankful for that. And we are going to stay on top of things. We are going to stay on top of things. So thanks again. Thanks again. And we are getting ready to start. We have more than touched that magic number. And I'm just making sure that I have my notes together here. It's because when I start, I ain't stopping. Right? When I start, it's posh way. So folks, let us get into our hot topics. I know some of y'all fast, y'all want to know what we coming with tonight. Let us get into the hot topics. Let us get into the hot topics. I'm still pulling up my notes. I don't know why the thing operating so slow. The challenges of technology in this technological age. Folks, I was up very early this morning. I don't even know if I slept. In a conference, a virtual conference, but an international conference. I was up from 1 to 4 this morning because the information was so good. I really wanted to make sure. I got to stay sharp for you folks. Got to stay sharp on top of credible and valid information for you guys. And again, good to see some of you. I know we're in different time zones. It's just after 8 p.m. here in Guyana. And I know it's a different time in lots of other jurisdictions. But nonetheless, I'm tremendously happy that so many of you are joining us. Tremendously happy about that, folks. And let us start with some breaking news this evening. And I know some of you may have caught up with some of this already. And we're going to be discussing some of it on the program this evening as well. Breaking news on 2 fronts, on 2, if not 3 fronts. And you know by now that the opposition confidently filed a no confidence motion against the installed Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, and the installed Minister of Home Affairs, because the crime rate has been going up, folks, and you know this. You know this. Just last night, we were discussing how the fetchway, like in payroll, and that's just one among a series of other, incidents, crime related, and it has been going up and up. They promise a security plan in what they call a manifesto, but we ain't see it yet. We ain't seen it yet, but we having it. And then you all know where Frank Anthony is. When these guys came in, 21 deaths, August 2nd, 474 confirmed cases of COVID-19. We're close to 500 deaths, and we're going to touch on that a little later on in the program. And we're well over 18,000 confirmed COVID cases, thanks to Frank Anthony and his incompetence. And so we are going to be looking at that a little later on in our program, a little more. The leader of the opposition is going to be walking us through what really and truly said to him, enough is enough, and Frank and this other jagabat got to go. So we're gonna get that from him, guys. Thanks for joining us. Those of you who are now tuning in, welcome in the ring. Whether you guys are joining us on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, thanks for joining us, and do give us a share. And so that is the first piece of breaking news. No confidence. We're done with them. We're tired. We're fed up, and they got to go. They have to go, folks. One way or the other, they got to go. No confidence in them. No confidence in them. So good to see all of you who are joining us. The PPP got no plans. Nicole Telford, you're absolutely right. No plans whatsoever. Rita Singh, I'm sure you agree with me. I'm sure Elaine Charge, Ricardo Singh, I'm sure you all agree with me that Frank is incompetent in the area of COVID-19. We're still waiting on COVAX. He said sometime in June. COVAX was supposed to be here with us months ago. We're still waiting. Sputnik V, we're still waiting. Right? We're still waiting to find out if we are taking the authentic vaccines. Just last night, we discussed how in India, it's salt water they're injecting people with. And these are doctors and health professionals involved in scams and schemes. So much more the likes of Anthony. And we know where crime is. We feel it all too acutely. You can't walk the city in peace. Right? Some people say bring back Kemraj. So no confidence in these guys, and we're going to touch on these issues a little later on. And then on the other front, we see two of the persons accused in the murder of the Henry boys, Isaiah and Joel Henry. They were set free today. Well, the president had come out in early January and thanked the police for solving the murders of Isaiah and Joel Henry. They said they had conclusive evidence and strong evidence and a whole set of other things, right, that were supposed to see these gentlemen, according to the police, convicted. But these days, you know who is police and thief. And the police seem to be focused on other things except policing. And so some of the information that we've picked up is that Vinud Gopal and Anil Sanchara, they were freed today by Magistrate Pieters, who agreed with Attorney Dexter Todd that the state had produced no admissible evidence. The state had produced no additional evidence to convict Vinod Gopal and Anil Sanchar. But folks, you know, when we examined this issue as early as January, we were convinced these men are known nothing but this murder. It's wool pulling over our eyes. We were already convinced. We didn't need this morning. This morning only confirmed what we had already believed, right? It only confirmed what we were already, in the direction in which we were already persuaded. We knew they were trying to pull a fast one. Not so Candace, not so Adwin Wilson, not so Tanzim McFarlane, Veronica King and Chanel Wells. Yes, we know they were pulling wool over our eyes. So Magistrate Pieters has freed Vinod Gopal and Anil Sanchara. And this is another issue we are going to be discussing a little later on in the program with a little more depth. Good, so bear with us there. We're going to have some additional information on that front for you folks. Looking at the National Assembly, my Lord, the Speaker bringing in some big money, folks. Kudos to him. He bringing in some big money, some big players, right? The Speaker of the National Assembly bringing in some big money and some big players. The only thing is, it's not for the National Assembly. It is not for the National Assembly. And we've been following this. Today we saw the news headline saying that the Bank of Baroda VIP lounge for Everest Cricket Club. Now the speaker is the president of the Everest Cricket Club. I wish we were getting some initiatives and collaboration with international entities for the National Assembly. No, but everything seemed to be flowing down to Everest or up to Everest. Everything seemed to be flowing in that direction. We've examined on this program as well. We saw the Chinese embassy. I mean, I am not too old to learn. I am always pliable to learn, but I thought that embassies deal government to government. So I was a little startled when I saw a partnership with the Chinese embassy to reduce electricity costs at Everest by 60%. Again, the speaker is at the forefront of this, right? Before what's his name, Mansour, became speaker, I didn't see all this. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw Mansour before he became speaker, he was a counter attendant at a shop in Robb Street. Right? He was a counter attendant at a shop in Robb Street, but now, soon as Mansour turned speaker, big partnerships with Everest, not with the National Assembly. So we're going to continue to examine that, folks. And then signs of the times. I told y'all, every day is pocketory. Signs of the times, folks. Pocketory. Right? From since August to now. Oh, Father, have mercy. Pocketory. Look what happened here today. Lots of places had blackout. Lots of places in the city had blackout. An ambulance collect a utility pole. Ambulance collect a utility pole. And according to GPL, right, customers from Vicinjon Road, Lamaha, Dennis and Middlewalk Dam, Queenstown, and Alberton would have been experiencing service interruption blackout due to an ambulance colliding with a GPL utility pole. I don't know if power has been restored in those areas. I hope so that the people can tune in to the live, tune into In the Ring, or Ring Stylus from there can tune in. I hope so. GPL, don't let me fall out, because y'all know I don't like some of y'all on that board already because of the information of the corruption happening there at GPL. So pocketory, more pocketory. More pocket. It's a darkness over this country since these guys come in August 2nd, Look what we say now. A laborer lost his finger because of a row over $160 worth in weed. 160. You see people going crazy? People don't even know it's what catching them. It's the things these people bring. It's the things that they bring. And then you see here, if I went Suriname the other day, they say the thing's strong in Suriname. The opium Suriname strong. So a laborer who didn't pay his previous debt went to buy some weed, and the people asked for the money. So folks, if y'all know y'all smoking weed and y'all owe people, pay the people. Y'all see we trying to legalize this thing at one end. Y'all owe people money for weed, pay the people. We want y'all lose y'all finger. People getting bite, people getting the wig, getting thrown overboard in boats. They're losing their finger. It's pocketory in this country, folks. And moving on very quickly. Oh, my Lord. The fraudulency too much with this government. And we're going to be examining with the lawyer for Paul Slow what he has said should be happening. And that is the not in no confidence like for these two fellas, Ben and Anthony. No, higher than that. Impeachment. So we're going to be examining that with Mr. Selwyn Pieters. And then on the COVID front, very quickly before we have our guests, folks, on the COVID front, you see why we have got no confidence in Anthony? 4 more succumbed today to COVID-19. 4 more persons succumbed today to COVID-19, which has brought the death toll to 482. And folks, we said, when we started out, when these guys took over from a credible and valid government, the deaths were 21 deaths, August 2nd, 2020. 21 deaths. It's 482. 4 people lost their lives, compliments of this government today. And that is sad. That is tremendously sad, folks. And with that, I want to invite the leader of the opposition, Mr. Joseph Harmon, who is going to come and walk us through this no confidence motion. He tired like most Guyanese. He tired. Leader of the opposition, very good evening, sir. Welcome in the ring.
Good evening, Sharon, and thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be
Most
here.
welcome, sir.
Yes.
I know you were really and truly exercising strategic patience, not wanting to convolute what is happening on the national front with getting the vaccines to people and all of that. And I know there may be several things that would have tipped you in this direction. Walk us through what led you in this direction of this no confidence motion against both the installed Minister of Health and the installed Minister of Home Affairs.
Yes, thank you very much, Sharon. You know, for quite a long time, we have been chronicling all of the misdeeds of these two ministers. In particular, let me start with the Minister of Health, because as you're aware, today we filed 2 no confidence motions against these 2 ministers. The Minister of Health, our basic concern with him is the management of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is not something to play with. 4 people died today. And the total is now 482. From August 2020, when we left office, from patient 0, which was in March of 2020, to August 2020, we had a death rate of 21 persons. And now between August 2020 and July 6th, we are now at 482. 4 persons alone dying alone today. Now, this is not something to joke about. And we have always maintained, we have said this to the Minister of Health, we have said it to Irfan Ali, that we are prepared to work on issues of national importance. And the health of the nation, the wellness of this nation is something of national importance. And so we offered to work on the national task force to provide a certain level of expertise, to provide the expertise in planning and the execution of what measures are necessary. But they haven't taken us. Until today, Dr. Cummins, who is our Shadow Minister of Health, repeated that. But they believe that they know everything and they know nothing. So what is happening is that the death rate keeps spiraling out of control. I wrote Irfan Ali over the weekend and said to him, this is a matter of national importance. And I'm asking you to pay attention to it so that we can address this as a nation. But no, they want to do things in the dark so that they cannot have the focus that we would bring if we were on the National Task Force. So what happened? You recall what happened when we went to Parliament on the last occasion, and we started to discover that they had spent over $975 million on a vaccine as part of the efforts to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. We have always said that we support the measures to fight this pandemic, including vaccination. In fact, we promoted vaccination. I myself took the vaccine and did a PSA on vaccines. When they indicated that Region 10 had a very low uptake on the vaccines, I led a team to Region 10 and encouraged the people of Region 10 to take the vaccine. But what we were not aware of at that time was that the Sputnik vaccines, which had been acquired by this installed regime, was acquired from a middleman in the United Arab Emirates. This came to light when we went to Parliament for where they were seeking approval for the $975 million, which they had already spent. And on questioning Frank Anthony, he said that they bought this vaccine from the United Arab Emirates, from the Sheikh, and that they had gone to the Russians and the Russians told them they did not have vaccines and that they referred them to this middleman. So we couldn't believe all of that. In addition to that, they had paid over twice the WHO listed price for this vaccine. And so we started asking questions, and that is when things started to happen. They could not answer the questions as to how they got these vaccines, what procedures were used to purchase it, whether in fact it went to tender, whether in fact it went to the procurement commission, procurement board, or whether it was just Jack Dio, Irfan Ali, and Frank Anthony sit down in a room with a sheikh who came to Ghana on a rented jet on the presumption that he was coming here to do infrastructure projects, agriculture projects, and so on, but not knowing that this is what he was coming to do. So we started to make the inquiries, and when we started to inquire, that is when the whole story started coming out. And we said to Frank Anthony, we said to Irfan Ali, that you must suspend the use of this Sputnik vaccine until such time that we can have clarity on all of the issues. They said then that, Frank Anthony then said that this vaccine was not given emergency use approval by the WHO, but that we had an entity here in Guyana who could approve it. It seems that this entity here under Marlon Cole was more powerful than WHO, more powerful than all the other authorizing entities, that they could approve this vaccine. And so we said this cannot be, and asked for the information which was required so that the Guyanese people can feel assuaged and that the anxiety can be brought under control. But instead of doing that, they said, attack me, calling me reckless and all of these things. Attack anybody at all who had anything to do with it. So what we said, look, you either provide us information or we will ask you to suspend the use of this vaccine. They never provided it. What they did, they went to Russia and got some internet paper, and some man signing it saying that Guyana could receive these vaccines, and list a whole set of countries and put at the bottom of it, including Guyana. But it still did not answer the question as to where these vaccines came from, how long they were in transit, what were the storage arrangements in place, and whether in fact they were still effective. You'll recall, Shara, that in this environment, there's so many reports that we are getting where vaccines have been misused, they're not being properly stored, they have expired. In fact, yesterday we saw on CNN that there are companies that were injecting saline water into people, telling them this is COVID vaccine. So all of these are issues which are there. And in particular, this Sputnik vaccine, I indicated that this vaccine had actually, there was a shipment of 200,000 vaccines that went to Mexico, that the Russians themselves said that this was a false, this was bogus. So why should we now take the word of a middleman that this is a good vaccine? And then what they did, they started going back to the company that produced this vaccine. They went another middleman, and the middleman said the vaccine is okay. Why should I accept that? And so all of these things, the way in which the COVID is being managed, the manner in which these vaccines were acquired and continues to be used, and what I understand now, they are bullying people to take this vaccine. There are other vaccines that are there that are WHO approved that are in the system, but they are bullying them. You have to take this. And people are actually making the choice. It is their choice to make. So that, along with many other issues in relation to health, the manner in which the pandemic was being handled, the manner in which the COVID cash grants and all of these things were dealt with, we felt that that was enough to say that the health of the Guyanese people was seriously imperiled by Frank Anthony remaining there as the minister. And in spite of all the help we've offered him, he has decided that they don't want it. And they're proceeding down a path, which is a very dangerous path to the health and wellness of the Guyanese people. We felt that that was enough. That was enough to bring a motion of no confidence in the National Assembly against Frank Anthony for the manner in which the Ministry of Health, they were dealing with the public health and well-being of the Guyanese people. So that was the first motion, Sharon. The second one had to do with Mr. Robeson Benn. Mr. Robeson Benn, as you know, is the Minister of Home Affairs. And as the Minister of Home Affairs, he has policy superintendents of the Guyana Police Force, Guyana Fire Service, Guyana Prison Service. And in that regard, he deals with the policy of these entities. Now, what we have found, and this is really what triggered the motion to a large extent, was that the government itself had expressed no confidence in Robeson Benn by setting up a separate unit that was responsible for crime. You would recall again in the National Assembly the last time we met that Gail Teixeira spoke about this, what they were called the regional task force or some regional security teams.
Security teams, yeah.
Regional security teams. Now, what is this? She eventually agreed that this was a new unit, that the purpose was to deal with crime. Now, if you have a Guyana police force, you have a criminal investigations department, in which you are comfortable and which you say have the best detectives and all of that, why do you need a separate unit to deal with crime? So what we are seeing is that the government itself has expressed no confidence in Benn to deal with crime because they had to set up their own thing. But that was not all. Since this PBP installed regime came into office, we've had some of the biggest drug busts in Europe with drugs coming from Guyana. And in spite of all of that, we have not seen a single person charged and brought before the court. We have seen, Sherrod, the increasing levels of violent crime that's taking place in this country. And in spite of their efforts to hide the statistics, the Guyanese people know it. And
Correct.
some of these are barefaced. You remember the shooting in front of the Palm Court?
Yep. I was coming
bright
there.
lights just up the road from the president's residence. All the cameras running.
Yep.
And yet until now we can't find somebody to charge them. You recall, Sherrod, all of these planes that landing in various parts of our hinterland. Some crash. Some say they're doing sightseeing.
Correct.
But all of them got cocaine inside. And what happened? Anybody is charged? No. So what we are seeing is an escalation in crime. We are seeing the doors being open for cross-border criminal activity. We are seeing prisoners that are being let out. Persons who have been convicted, 62 of them set free by Robeson Benn or on the instructions or directions or advice of Robeson Benn. And until now, the Guyanese people can't know what are the names of these people. What are they? We knew what the offenses were. And they were all serious offenses for which they were incarcerated. And he released them. It is more important for him that the names of these persons are not known than the security of the state, the security of the people of this country. People who would have given evidence against some of these folks when they were sent to prison, suddenly going to be faced with you waking up one morning or you hear a rap on your door and it's the man against whom you gave evidence that was convicted is at your door. And sometimes we're in a police uniform.
Correct. Yep.
Because you don't know what is going on now with this new security unit that the crime unit they've set up. So what I'm saying is that we are in a bad place. The Americans have put out advisories to their citizens that Guyana is a high-risk country where crime is concerned.
Saw that, yeah.
You saw that. All of that published. And in spite of all of that, this minister is going about the place as if nothing is happening. He's unbothered, he's unchallenged by anything. While the citizens are living in fear and you're not too sure what is taking place on your streets. So we believe that it was enough had been done. We've been warning about this in every speech in the National Assembly where the opportunity provided itself. We asked the questions and we made statements. There are several questions which we've asked about crime. Some of them the speaker ruled to be out of order. Some of them which were given for Ben to answer. We got the most flippant of answers you can think about. Yeah. Very condescending, as if we were not entitled to this high-level security information, and that we as members of parliament, we were begging for it. So I believe, Shara, that enough had been said about this, and that we needed to, as a National Assembly, express our serious issue with these two ministers, and to let them understand that the parliament has no confidence in their ability to run these ministries, and that if an ally should have them call for their resignations immediately.
Very well. Leader of the opposition, I'm going to be continuing this discussion, especially on crime, with Attorney at Law Nigel Hughes, because we're talking about Henry Boys. We didn't talk about the Henry Boys. The president himself promised justice for the Henry Boys.
Yes. That was
elusive thus far.
Sharon, you recall how much we had done in the parliament. You recall that we had filed a motion to be debated in the parliament. And the people actually came there expecting their motion to be debated.
This is
and it was shut down by the speaker. Yeah. Shut down by the speaker. We actually went on a parliament in the street and debated the motion there. And the citizens of this country on the street in front of the Stabrook Market said guilty as charged. And so Ben is already in the public space. People have already expressed their concerns about this. The Henry Boys, this is an indictment on this installed regime. It's an indictment that the lives of 3 young men could be snuffed out like that in a most gruesome manner. And then you go and you pick up somebody, two persons, you know fully well got no connection whatsoever with this crime. But just to say that, oh, we have top-level detective work, and you go about charging these people. Now tonight I see the DPP issued a statement saying that at the time when they were charged, there was enough evidence. Well, how were they first wronged? These people gone home. Something is wrong. Somebody's crazy. Because the DPP is a senior counsel, and you must know the bar over which you must pass to satisfy the requirement, at least for a preliminary inquiry. So how could that be? I could understand if at the High Court, on a High Court trial, that on some technicality or something like that, but not at a preliminary hearing in the magistrate court. And this, I believe, is either the second or third time this matter come up, and these men gone. And you are saying that that is good police work? This is one of the other reasons why Ben has to go as the Minister of Home Affairs.
Very well.
It is the protest and the fact that, in fact, I think Nigel has dealt with this matter extensively and in a very professional way. The fact that they will actually now go and arrest the family members who actually appeared on a press conference with Nigel Hughes and lock these people up and charge them and put them on heavy station bail. This is another oppressive way in which this installed regime that they are trying to actually criminalize communities and pauperize the communities. Because if you keep taking money out of a small community like that, you add up how much bail they have in the system since August for all of these different people. arrested on from top charges.
Yeah.
And you will see how much money has been taken out of these village economies. People have to be borrowing money from neighbors and so on to pay bail. Why? I believe this is a deliberate effort to pauperize these villages by taking all of these bail. And because after they finish with station bail and they go before the magistrate, they got to pay magistrate court bail now. That is even not even paying the lawyers as yet.
Yeah.
So so what you're doing now, people have no money, they're not convicted of any offense. You suspect them of doing something which is totally off. And then what you're doing is just keep demanding from them sums of money as bail. It is pauperizing our communities, and it is pauperizing in particular those black communities from which these people come.
Yeah.
It is insidious, and it is something that we have to look at carefully. Now I understand somebody sent me a message this afternoon, and it is not unexpected that since these motions were filed, that the police at CID get new instructions to go after the opposition. Well, I said, go after what? What are they going after? They're going to make up more bogus charges?
Interesting.
Huh?
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is the same administration, the same regime where they have an attorney general who's going all about the place, wants to get into a room, maybe with his drinking partners, become very powerful, talking about opposition sleeping and all kind of things. Well, he's the one to be sleeping all the time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what he's doing during the day. When he's going to the parliament, from the time he's getting there, God sleep. And talking about people sleeping and all that. Well, I leave him to be dealt with by the competent MPs.
Leading the opposition, as we continue to press these two motions of no confidence against the Minister of Health, the installed Minister of Health, and the installed Minister of Home Affairs, we're going to have you back to continue to discuss these very, very important subject matters and to give leadership to the Guyanese public in terms of the information they are receiving. And so I want to thank you for spending this time with us this evening. So I know you have a busy schedule, and I don't want to detain you long.
Well, thank you, Sharon. Anytime you call me, I have to get in the ring because this is where the punches fly. And I know the installed regime, they're looking at everything here. They're probably taping everything to analyze every word that comes out of my mouth to see whether there's an offense committed. If I say installed, whether that is an offense, well, they have to keep making up offenses. And the Guyanese people know better. I think your program, you are informing people, you're keeping them informed about things that are happening that's affecting their lives in this country. And I want to thank you for continuing to do a good job. And I urge all Guyanese to stay connected. We are the voice of truth. Don't worry about all of these plenty papers who print in all kind of different things when they come. Come and get on Sherrod's program. Look at the afternoon rush with Randy Critchlow, and those are what I call the barometers of truth. Get your facts there and get it straight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sherrod. Keep firing the punches.
Words. Thank you, sir. And there you have it, folks. The leader of the opposition. I have coming on right away with any further wait. The attorney for the Henry family, Mr. Attorney at Law Nigel Hughes. Mr. Hughes, a very good evening, sir, and welcome to the program.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Thank you very much. It's always, always a pleasure to be here on the program. And a lot of what I perhaps was going to say, the leader of the opposition has said. But pleasure to be here.
Mr. Hughes, you saw what transpired today, coming months ago. Perhaps because you are a good attorney, but you spoke to several issues when this matter first came up. The police had said to the public, they said that they have strong, compelling evidence. Strong, compelling evidence. They went on to say they have incontrovertible evidence that implicates these three young men, Vinud Gopal, Anil Sanchara, and the other young man, Akash Singh, in the murders of the Henry boys. You weren't buying it, and you tell them, don't come wrong, you funny with that. Talk to us about what transpired today.
Sharon, I think if I could go back a little earlier,
Go right ahead.
when both Isaiah and Joel were so brutally murdered and their bodies found in the backyard, the first thing the Henry family said was that we want a thorough forensic examination. Since from Jump Street we warned that we don't want a confession because confessions are increasingly unreliable and juries are rejecting them. That was said from the start. So long before anybody got charged, long before anybody got arrested, I think the first thing we said was that you've got to do some work. The Henry family took the trouble of going. Human rights came on board and finding the foremost forensic anthropologists in the world. Ghana Human Rights raised funds for them to come here. There were 5 experts who were going to be here, and we said, look, please, let's take advantage of this. The government of Guyana, the Guyana Police Force, the Minister of Home Affairs completely rejected that. Dr. Thunderbar got here, said they weren't interested. And then out of the blue, we heard that they had found 2 unlikely young men who allegedly, quote unquote, confessed. I think the leader of the opposition touched it, and I'll come to that in a minute. Before these men actually got into court to have the charges read to them, there was a huge protest from them that they had been coerced into giving these confession statements. So we knew from the start, from the victims of the charge, if I may call them that something was not right here. They got charged again, the Henry family and several people, human rights, etc. We all said, look, confessions are notoriously unreliable, and the Ghana Police Force has a history of persuading people to implicate themselves when there is no evidence against them. We've had that in Shaka Chase, we've had that in other cases. And these young men, and this is the frightening thing, the Ghana Police Force were prepared to charge these 2 young men with murder, take away their liberty, at a preliminary inquiry, which is the lowest level, and the burden of proof is exceedingly low. All you have to establish at the end of a preliminary inquiry is that there's a prima facie case. What a prima facie case means is that there is some evidence, not compelling, not convincing, just some evidence that indicates that the person who is charged may be culpable of this offense, so that it is sent up to the High Court to decide it. At the very first hurdle, very experienced magistrate, Peter Hughes, been at the bar for a long time, been at the bench for quite a while, says to the prosecution, this will not cut it. You haven't reached the threat yet. And he discharged these men today. And immediately what we see kicking in is that the Director of Public Prosecutions is of the view that there is enough evidence. Now the problem with that is this. When you're trying to, you see, where the magistrate discharges someone, the people who recommended the charge, the people who conducted the investigation immediately come on the scrutiny. And so they get very defensive. Because if the magistrate throws out your case at the first instance and says you don't even have a prima facie case here, the first thing you're going to do is question the decision-making process and the investigative process that led to these men being charged in the first place. And because this is such a prominent and heinous murder, where all these offers of assistance, we heard that the regional security people came in and said that the Guyana Police Force is more than competent to investigate and bring charges. So there's a lot of hubris and there's a lot of defense, a lot of position being invested. So the Director of Public Prosecutions knows that if this magistrate discharges this case, the first thing you're going to say was, how come the Director of Public Prosecutions recommended charges in the first place? And the police know, particularly where the only evidence is a confession statement, that people are going to say, if your case collapses at the very first round, exactly what investigation did you conduct, particularly where you rejected the offer of the best possible forensic evidence that was available to you in the world. Because if you've got these super cops and they come up with a confession and your entire case collapses at the first hurdle, the obvious question is the major crimes unit gets defeated at the first round. This is not even at the no case before the assizes or going to the jury or collapses on some technical ground. This is at the very first hurdle. Your super investigative team has completely failed. The question is, in other societies, those that are well ordered and running the rule of law, somebody's head has to roll.
Yeah.
This is not a common garden murder. These were heinous. One of them had an excellence for it. It came up at a particularly difficult time in Ghana's history, the elections. There are all sorts of speculation that these murders might have been inspired or as a result of our electoral difficulties. And your case collapses after all these offers of forensic help. And science, it's difficult to trump science. Collapses, then the question is going to be, who is responsible for the investigation? Because somebody got to answer a question here.
Yeah.
Somebody has to take responsibility for the collapse of the case. And unfortunately, what we see happening here is a digging in of position, where they're saying, oh, no, there's enough evidence, I'm going to direct that they committed. The problem with that is if you can't cross the first hurdle, this case is going to be thrown out completely if the Director of Public Prosecution says to the magistrate, commit these people. Because if you can't even get past the magistrate on a prima facie case, where are you going to have a remote case when you get to the High Court? And what's even more tragic is these two young men are going to remain in custody when it is clearly evident that this case has nowhere to go.
Mr. Hughes, what seemed also very, very strange is that outside of the DPP and all of that, the president himself had stepped in very early when these men were charged. And he had expressed confidence that the police force, he knew the police force would have solved these murders. He had already concluded that the murders have been solved with the arrest of Vinod Gopal, Anil Sanchara, and Akash Singh. And he continued to express full confidence in the police force and the crime chief. And so that seemed very, very strange as well.
Well, I think the obvious consequence of that is if the president had full confidence in the team, that they conducted this investigation and their entire case has collapsed, then one, his confidence clearly was not best placed, and two, somebody's got to take responsibility for that, because either somebody misled the president or somebody had a really hopeless assessment of what constituted a case. So to me, if the country doesn't address this and heads don't roll, it means that the police will continue to do this. We have that awful case of Shafik Chase where he had a confession, he got charged with murder, and they had to withdraw the case. And my only hope is here that, sober heads prevail and that they go back. The real tragedy, however, forgive me, the real tragedy is that it is virtually impossible to successfully prosecute anybody other than these gentlemen. Now, going forward, if the magistrate says this case should go, really and truly, there should be a return to the investigation, a return to forensics, return to science, and attempt to find the real people. But the problem with that is the second you charge anybody, the first question their lawyer is going to say, well, you were so convinced before that it was these two, so how come you're going to file a charge? And this is not a common garden murder. This is a really heinous murder that came at a difficult time. They are still, as a matter of fact, the wounds as a result of the murder of Isaiah and Joel are perhaps even more gaping than they were when it happened. And this event today, I wouldn't even say has reopened, that it has just made it worse.
As you said, Mr. Hughes, attorney at law for this family, this has made it so much worse, and we're going to continue to follow as this all unfolds nationally, and we're going to tap into you as time goes by and as we come to these signposts in this case for your guidance on it. Thanks very much for joining me this evening. Anything else you want to add?
Sorry, one point, and the legal jobs have been touched on. The Henry family, as a result of just bail, has had to raise $1 million to bail the people who have invested, who were arrested. The remaining 4 went in. So 10 people have had to find $100,000. So in the village of number 3, one family has had to find in 2 days, 3 days, $1 million cash.
Wow.
This is not a family.
Wow.
It's not a rich family. Just think
Wow.
of, and that's after they've lost his son to the brutal murder, and the other one who has been falsely charged.
Yeah.
Just think about that. But thank you so much. Pleasure as always to be in your program, sir.
Thank you again, Mr. Hughes. Folks, there you have it, attorney at law Nigel Hughes for the Henry family there. Not surprised the way things have gone and forecasted more or less months ago as we discussed the issue. And so with that, I want to welcome my third guest for the evening, Mr. Selwyn Pieters, who, it's so much happening on the national front. It's like if you blink, you're going to miss something so important. Mr. Pieters, welcome. A very good evening. Your audio, I'm not hearing. I don't know why.
I got it. Very good evening to you, Mr. Duncan, and to all your viewers at Guyana and the diaspora.
Excellent. Welcome again, sir. And for folks who are now joining us on this issue and for this bit of the conversation, Mr. Pieters represents the Police Service Commission, and especially the chairman of the commission, Mr. Paul Slow, and is in dealing with this issue of the executive's interference in the work of the Police Service Commission. You have floated this idea of the president being impeached. And as a matter of fact, I want to quote the Village Voice that did an interview with you, in which you said that, quite frankly, a motion can be brought to impeach the president in Parliament, regardless of whether the motion is successful or not. It's besides the point. But Article 94 of the Constitution provides for some accountability where the president violates the Constitution, and you see his interference in the work of the Police Service Commission as a violation of the Constitution. Talk to us about that, sir.
Yes, I do see His Excellency Mohammed Orfanali's interference in the orderly functioning of the Guyana Police Force Police Service Commission as a violation of the Constitution, and certainly meeting the threshold of gross misbehavior that can be brought to Parliament under Article 94 of the Constitution. As far as the evidence goes, Paul Slow testified under oath, in 2 different affidavits with respect to the conduct of the president. The meeting where the president suggested who he wants to be promoted, the first phone call with respect to Karen Bash and Brutus, the second phone call after Paul Slow and the commission upbraided Assistant Commissioner Thomas in respect to his letter to the commission outlining who must be promoted. The third phone call from the president, who was angry when a leaked draft of the promotion list was sent to Brutus and sent to the executive as well, without the commission even finalizing who it would have promoted. So those 3 instances, followed by all the shenanigans that went on with so-called the contrived charges. We live in Guyana now is a country where people can face trumped up charges for self-serving gain of persons within the Guyana police force. How can this sort of interaction be constitutionally free from scrutiny? And then the president going, there's a contrived charges against Paul Slow, Conway, and a whole bunch of serving and retired police officers. Then the show cause notices that were quite frankly deficient. They met no test for Paul Slow them to show cause, but they asked for Paul Slow them to show cause, and we show caused. And now you have the president suspending the commission when he has no authority in the circumstances to suspend the commission. The condition precedents to suspending the commission does not exist, which is a judicial service commission to recommend and have 3 persons who are members of the judiciary or retired members of the judiciary or persons with 10 or more years of service as lawyers selected 3 persons to form a tribunal. There's no such judicial commission, no such tribunal exists. And where the question of removal or suspension exists, a tribunal has to be appointed, or the Constitution doesn't put it forward. It says has been appointed. So the tribunal has to be valid. It has to be substantive. In this case, there's no valid and substantive tribunal. So, and it all goes to the promotion of the 132 officers. The government simply wanted to control who were promoted and who were not promoted, and the Police Service Commission was not having it. Now, I mean, it's interesting how the government is operating in this case. They ask us to show cause. Instead of responding to us, they respond with a press release. Poslow asked the commissioner to follow the law and issue the orders so that the officers could get their badge of ranks and pay the special promotion orders. What happens today? We give the commissioner until 12 o'clock, 12 noon today. I set that time, high noon. They don't respond, and Poslow was right. Poslow said, please govern yourself accordingly. Yeah. Well, the commissioner of police hasn't governed himself accordingly. And as is the typical case in Guyana, he hasn't responded. But the Attorney General responded with a press release. I've never seen anything like this, where lawyers are responding instead of responding to the lawyer who wrote. They're responding through press releases. Where in the world do you see something like that occurring?
Yep. Interestingly bizarre.
Yes, and so I mean, this is a fight that they brought to Poslow. It's a fight they brought to Poslow. Poslow can't hire a lawyer aligned to the PPP in Guyana because they're a techie case. He can't hire Royce Dilford. He can't hire Gita Chandon Edmond. He can't hire Amanda Walton Desir. He can't hire none of them because they're gonna say, well, he's time bundled with the opposition. So he went all the way to Canada and hired a Canadian lawyer. He hired Selwyn Pieters. And now they're trying to pick on Selwyn Pieters because Selwyn Pieters take on Poslow case. Well, every client has the right to a lawyer. And they have the right to the lawyer fighting zealously on their behalf. You come into the ring for a fight.
Yeah.
We expect the person to do on the opposite side, sit on his hands.
Yeah.
Poslow is not that type. You bring the fight to Poslow coming back to you. And this is what's happening right now. So yeah. Y'all want to know what the next step is? Well, y'all gonna get it exclusively on on Unplugged Tuesday. The next step is we bringing them up. We going to court. I heard Sherrod talking last night about the commissioner getting the court closed, ready to walk up them court step. Well, he gonna go walk up them court step because we preparing an application to compel the commissioner and the Police Service Commission secretary to do their duties, to comply with the lawful orders issued by Mr. Slow in his capacity as chairman on behalf of the 5 commissioners that sit together as the Police Service Commission. All the noise that Mr. Nandlal is making in the media through press releases and not responding to the lawyer directly are simply noise. Mr. Nandlal, as part of the executive, has no control over an independent body called the Police Service Commission. And if the commission had sat on its hands, it would have set a bad precedent for other constitutional commissions in the judiciary. The president doesn't like a ruling of a judge, he sends the judge home. They come up with some contrived claim to get the judge knocked off the bench. or some commission doesn't do as the executive wish, they just come up with some contrived allegation, which they did in this case to get rid of the Police Service Commission. And that is not acceptable in a constitutional democracy. People are upset because I took President Ali on and called for his impeachment. Well, Anna Nadler did the same thing when President Granger sent home Carvel Duncan. The shoe is on the other feet right now, and the cap fits you, you wear it.
Yeah, but they seemingly want different strokes for different folks. And you've been chronicling some of what has been transpiring in the police force. Here in this article, a well-written article by Svetlana Marshall there of Village Voice, in which it is stated and attributed to you. You have said that once taking office in August 2020, the PPC government, in an attempt to seize control of the armed forces, have been attempting to influence the promotion of certain officers within the police force and the suppression of others, such as the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Paul Williams, who was reassigned to the Civil Defense Commission, and Assistant Police Commissioner Royston and Andres Jr., who was removed from the helm of the Force's Public Relations Department and replaced by civilians. A number of incursions by the administration into the police force.
Yes, and that's not all, Mr. Duncan. The very competent and experienced permanent secretary, Miss Daniela McCalmont, that you and I spoke about this months ago when I appeared on your program.
Yes.
She's removed and sent to put in a room where there's no air conditioning or nothing. She's just sent there and replaced by May Toussaint. Then you have the director of prisons, and Gladwin Samuels is my very good friend, and of course my client who I represented in the prison inquiry. They replaced him as a director of prisons and put him as an assistant coordinator of trafficking in persons, a non-existent position within the Ministry of Home Affairs. But not only a non-existent position, but who moved from a director position in any government entity or in any entity to an assistant coordinator?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it's all around the joint services. And you sit down or you stand up and you just ignore all these things that are happening, and suddenly you're in a system where the citizens have no say. The government has total control over the military, over the prisons, over the police force, and there's no proper oversight of these agencies. And then you have a lot of injustices that are occurring. I mean, it's just 11 months, and you have a lot of injustices already occurring that needs to be called out. In any system of democracy where people are subject to trump up charges, why does the government or the police force run by two officers right now? It's two officers who are running the police force right now, and we know who those officers are, right? They're bringing contrived and trumped up charges against their own equal senior superintendents so that those people can't get promoted. And the judge called it self-serving. Justice George last week called it self-serving. She called it the allegations against the officers unsubstantiated. She called the conduct of those officers a conflict of interest. And she said that, certainly the police force has some serious issues that brings that administration of justice into disrepute. And she's quite concerned about where the Ghana police force is going. But if you have this sort of stuff happening in 11 months, if it goes unchecked, you can imagine what's going to happen in 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. So, regardless of how upset the government are, regardless of how they're trying to rile their supporters up through press releases and posts on social media, which otherwise they're arresting other people under the Cybercrime Act. Because if anyone called Anna Nadler anarchist, he would have complained how his feelings were hurt, and the police would have gone and arrested that person. He's calling the commissioners who are acting in accordance with the Constitution and in their own deliberate judgment anarchists, and the rest that are flowing online, and none of it is acceptable. And so I, as their lawyer, we're putting up a strong defense. And who don't like it, that's their problem. Everyone is entitled to have competent, able attorneys represent them.
Yeah.
And the competent, able attorneys must understand the law and must use the law, whether it's a sword or a shield. In this case, the sword is that
I love that.
Anil's advice to the president was wrong. Anil knows the law. He understands the law. He understands how the law is applied. And he hasn't come up with a cogent argument yet as to why he believed that the commission could be suspended without the condition precedents to the suspension be met. And he says, okay, the president is this imperial person, so that the president order is not subject to challenge, except if the president wants to reverse his decision rightly or wrongly, or you go to court. The problem is, if the commission had gone with that sort of reasoning, is the commission would not have had the opportunity to make its decision within its jurisdiction on those officers who were rightly qualified, met all the conditions to be promoted, and the court said that they should be promoted without hindrance, albeit the 6 months delay that Brutus caused by bringing this application simply because, of his own self-serving interest, which trumped the interest of the Guyana police force and the nation.
Yeah.
Right. So if the commission had fallen into the sort of trap that Anandalal probably thought he was setting for the commission wouldn't have gotten to do its work. And all they would do is sit on their hands until the commission's life ends. And they say, okay, it's August 10th. The commission life has ended. Bye-bye. You can't do anything anymore. And we're, because your life has ended, we don't have to appoint no tribunal. We don't have to follow the dictates of the Constitution, because it's spent now giving your the expiry of your term. But the commission understood the law, understood how the law is applied, understand that the president can't issue an illegal order and expect it to follow that illegal order. And so it continues to do its work.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Pieters, just before I let you go, the president seems to be pursuing a path like President Richard Nixon, in saying when the president says it, it becomes the law. It looks as though he'll suffer the very same fate. But outside of all that, I want to pull back a little bit. You live and work in Canada predominantly as a democracy, because I kept hearing you hitting that word democracy, and in a democracy, we have a Canadian embassy here. It seems as though democracy means different things to different people. Could something like this happen in Canada, the kinds of incursions into the work of the police force and other segments of society by the executive in this kind of high-handed manner?
Well, the executive always try to influence the police force, but it's the pushback that happens in Canada that they would receive from inside and outside of the police force. So, we had a situation in Ontario where the premier of this province, Ontario, where I live, tried to put one of his friends or his political allies or his political cronies as the commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police. And there were challenges inside and outside of the Ontario Provincial Police, and he was unable to make the appointment as he wished. We had in terms of the federal government, we had the prime minister subject to serious ethics investigations in terms of trying to pressure the Attorney General of Canada to follow a dictate in respect to one of his friends and major donors. So even in first world countries, executives try to forget themselves and try to forget that they're bound by the Constitution, they're bound by ethic guidelines and so on. And when they do that, people are alert, people are alive to it, and they challenge it and they hold them to account, they bring them to book. Well, and that's what's going on with President Ali right now, because it's not a lawyer that can be intimidated. Y'all can try all y'all want.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, y'all
yeah.
can try all y'all want. Y'all can't intimidate me. My job is to represent Paul Slow and the Police Service Commission. The state has an array of resources that it has been exploiting in Paul Slow's case. And Paul Slow lawyer is the conduit. That's the middleman between Paul Slow and the commission and the state and its array of assets that is deploying against them. And I'm not going to be intimidated by what's going on and by the noise that's going on in Guyana. You're not going to be able to bring no false and contrived charges against me. And talking about the Canadian government and the Canadian embassy in Guyana, the Canadian embassy in Guyana has to be alive. It has to be alert, and it has to look out for these violations. And
Excellent.
in its diplomatic role, and Mr. Berman, who is the ambassador, is a seasoned diplomat, and so he understands what the protocols are. He understands what's required. He understands his reporting requirement to global affairs, because certainly, Mr. Berman, or certainly Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, if people are being falsely arrested, contrived charges at the senior levels of the Guyana Police Force, the Police Service Commission, even civilians, you had five or so civilian witnesses who were alibi witnesses, and they're arrested because they provided evidence in support of where a person would have been located when that person is alleged to have committed a crime. You're arresting witnesses and putting them on $1,000 bail so that you could keep them in jail because they may not be able to come up with that $100,000. It raises issues that goes to the administration of justice. The justice system in Guyana seemed to be heading on a slope that is quite frightening to the ordinary citizens and the citizens without the resources. Not everyone could hire Nigel Hughes or Selwyn Pieters. Paul Slow was able to hire Selwyn because Paul Slow and I relationship goes back 36 years. Since I was 18 years old, I'm now 54 or going on to 54. Paul Slow knew me since I was 18. And Paul Slow and I have done a lot of projects together. And so Paul Slow was able to contact me and with the full confidence that Selwyn Pieters will represent him and represent him well. But not every citizen have that access to legal resources. And I know some people think I'm getting a whole bunch of money. This case, I'm not being paid for it, just so y'all know. It's done pro bono. I mean, the Canadians pay very, very well. I'm not trying to hustle or make money in Guyana. Yeah. Paul Slow and I relationship go back 36 to 37 years. He's getting the representation he deserves. And whether y'all like it or whether y'all don't like it, that's the way it is. We come into court we're filing those applications this week. As soon as we get everything prepared, we filing them. And we're bringing it to the court. So you're not going to get to argue the case through press releases. You're gonna have to argue it in court, and the case law, nothing buttresses your position. They're all on our side. So as Sherrod said, we in the ring, let we fight.
Let's fight. Let's fight. Mr. Pieters, I want to thank you. Attorney at Law Pieters, I want to thank you for guiding us as to what is happening here, because they're trying to convolute it, but it's ever so simple. It's either you're wrong or you're right. It's either the executive has jurisdiction here or it clearly doesn't. And I haven't seen any of the major newspapers say anything that you haven't said this evening. The executive seems to be on a tangent of its own. I want to thank you for standing up for justice as well. Thank you very much, sir. And as this new legal aspect moves on, I hope that you can come back and continue to give us some guidance, give the public guidance.
Yeah, we'll and you could also contact Mr. Slow or any of the commissioners directly, and they'd be happy to be on the program and speak to you about what's going on, because certainly we're not going to allow a certain spin to be perpetuated through the media and through the social media airspace.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Have a great evening. And folks, there you have it, a lawyer for the Police Service Commission and for Mr. Paul Slow. I want to thank you guys for staying in overtime with us, a little past our program time. This is what we call the overtime of the program. And as we go, folks, thanks for spending this time with us. Share the live stream even as you go. Those persons who are going to come back and watch us later on, share the live stream as well. We're tremendously appreciative as that. And as we go, a word from our sponsors.
Planning to buy or build your dream home or even get that dream vehicle? Are you a member of the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union? Well, the wait is over. They're affording their members the opportunity to secure residential mortgages up to $15 million, starting at a matchless interest of 3.5% per annum, and vehicle loans up to $5 million at 1% of the reducing balance. Don't be stuck in that waiting position. Call them on telephone numbers 225-7876, visit their website at MyGPSCCU or their Facebook page at the Guyana Public Service Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Your wait is over.
Sanitize, social distance, wear your mask, practice all the other COVID-19 protocols that are there for your health and your safety, that of your friends and your loved ones. Do stay safe, folks. See you tomorrow night when we're in the diaspora. Do stay safe. And thanks again for staying in this overtime period in the ring with us. Stay safe, folks.